So I'm Nick Stewart. I used to be your Board of Education member for the area. Enjoy getting to know so many of you, working together with you all. But here to talk about something that relates, at least as part of that work, and that is school overcrowding. But largely it's about growth and development in our county and who we're going to be in the next 10, 15, 20 years. How many of y'all are familiar with the master plan process that's going on?
So the one thing I will say, Nick, is the association actually submitted comments during the master plan process, but then probably it didn't go anywhere besides that. So we submitted notes, but I don't think after that, people in this group kept on top of it.
Got it, yeah. And it has sort of gone dormant right now as they are, I think, taking those comments back, drafting the plan. They're going to be releasing that plan. Arguably, according to their own timeline, they should have done it pretty much any time. But we'll see. I think they are a little bit behind. So stay tuned on that, because when that draft comes out, there's more work to be done, more review, input to be had. And we're trying to kind of marshal resources as we the people, as the group that I'm representing tonight, that I found with Pat Keller, who was our former planning director for about 20 years in the county. I'm also joined by Ms. Paula Wolf here, who has been helping out critically with the work, and so grateful for you, Paula. And so, what we're doing is ultimately trying to, as I said, summarize, figure out what we can do with the master plan that's going to be commanding, persuasive, but also in this moment, in this interim period, have a chance to try to organize resources around the election and talk to our electeds, talk to those who are running for office in a way that communicates how important some of these issues really are. So let me get into just what we're about as a group. We can do our next one. It's just about a grassroots kind of campaign here, grassroots kind of effort to influence the master plan, to make progress and not to have perfection. There are a couple reasons why we're doing this. The first, it starts with the process. It is in fact one that I think is critical for us, because we do all this work, we do all this input, and then where does it go? The master plan itself as a document, and I think it's going to be a good looking document. I think it's going to have a lot of effort and time put into it. It is not binding. It's not controlling what our decisions will be as a county going forward. It does not command the obligation, I suppose, of the county council when they make decisions around land use and zoning. So why do we do it? Why does all this time and effort go into it if it doesn't actually influence things when they count, when they matter? And we've all seen it. When those local decisions come, they're very political, they're very emotional. It's often who is loudest or who is most powerful who's going to win those arguments. And it shouldn't be that way. We should respect the work that we are doing right now. And so that needs to change, and that's part of what we're about. The second part is about the substance. And so, we've had a lot of interest. The master plan process itself has received thousands upon thousands of comments, but everyone has their own things throughout our very large county. And so we are trying to distill and pull back and have some takeaways on those bigger issues to try to get to a kind of a macro change, a macro impact. So let me just tell you a little bit about the history of where we are. This is not a history lecture. I'm going to be very quick about this stuff, and really only 7 more minutes. But, as a county, we have what is referred to as the URDL, so it's the urban-rural demarcation line, where we just said these are the areas of the county that are going to be serviced by sewer and water, and so it's going to limit our growth. And we did this in 1967, and then we sort of walked away. I'm like, that's good, we did it. But it wasn't enough. And so over time, we noticed that we had this growth development challenge. We tried to use a town center approach, but that did not work because it wasn't coordinated. And again, it wasn't around a comprehensive, holistic vision of change. And so for change to benefit all, it has to be well planned. It has to be respectful of things like a master plan. And so again, we really need to stop this. This is a critical moment in our history. We don't have any more land to really develop as green space, untouched land within the county, not big swaths like we have seen in the past. And so what's left within the URDL is a redevelopment, and that is harder to do, is more expensive to do. And so this leads us to a bit of a crossroads. Right, so we're talking here about a lack of open space. 65% of residents do not have access to open space within walking distance of their homes. That's enormous, and it's inequitable. We have pollution. All but one of our 14 watersheds is polluted. We don't have sort of the affordable housing, missing middle housing is what it's referred to as. I often say that, we shouldn't just be having to choose between single-family homes, and high-end apartments and condos. That shouldn't be the only choice that people have here. Our housing is old. It's 48 years old on average compared to 39 years. We have a bunch of suburbs, Essex, Dundalk, Baltimore Highlands, Lansdowne to an extent. These communities that were really built, developed in true substance after the war that have not been taken care of, that have not been reinvested in, do not represent complete communities in that we can live, learn, work, and play all in the same place. We have increased housing costs because we have less supply and more demand. That is a bad equation, typically. We have our true level of poverty is the ALIS threshold. It's used by United Way. We have seen that continue to increase. We have discrimination involving African Americans and underrepresented communities and population loss. So for the first time since the 1920s, we are going to register a loss in our county of population. So we're not necessarily headed in the right direction, folks, and I think now is a time that we can use this tool, this incredible tool called the master plan, to deal with all of these systems all at once, housing, environment, schools, to try to make some macro changes all at once and guide this county forward. So we have a significant promise. Our objective itself is just to create a development process that is itself predictable, it's transparent, and it's honoring the work that is happening right now with respect to the master plan. So how do we get there? Is our next slide. We added 1 point today, and so it says 6 points. It's a 7-point plan. But anyway, our first thing is just let's have the comprehensive zoning that happens once every 4 years. If you guys are familiar with that process, it is arduous, it is long, it is time intensive. A lot of people don't like it. But we do it once every 4 years, and it does not always line up with when we do the master plan. Everyone would typically say, who's outside of this state, who's doing these issues, that you do the zoning process immediately after you do the master plan. We don't do that. We should do that, and it shouldn't be that big of a lift. We tend to have what's referred to as a CZMP, the zoning process, happen around election years, but that should not govern everything. And if it has to, then we should orient the master plan around it. Our second, and that's a local level issue, you can talk to your county council people about that, or those who are running for county council. Our second issue is one for our state officials, our delegates, our senators, and so on. And that is closing what we refer to as a priority funding area loophole. So not to get too technical, but I'm a lawyer, so this is sort of my issue. But we have a law on the books that says in all areas that are not priority funding areas, you have to comply with the master plan. Guess what? Everything inside the URDL is a priority funding area, meaning nothing inside the URDL has to comply with the master plan as a matter of state law. We can change that, and we should change it. There are reasons for why that happened, but they're sort of antiquated now, and we've gone too far in one direction. We have some other things to talk through as well, but we're focused on mixed-use development, emphasizing sort of a next-generation approach to that, instead of it just being sort of one-off projects, but it being more comprehensive. We're talking about reforming the process of actually having the county council legislate. So sometimes the county council will have these bills that they are amending and changing the day of, the night of, without anyone weighing in from the planning department, without having a chance to have public review and comment, that are basically and effectively spot zoning what we're doing in our county. It's not okay. There needs to be greater transparency around that. Howard County has a green infrastructure network. We don't. It's just the idea that you make the very most of the green space that you do have. You have pocket parks, you have trails, you have connectivity among these areas. We don't have this plan in mind. We should. So we can do what is our ask. And really, at bottom, covered a lot, and there is a lot to cover. There's a lot of work to do, but the most important things really are just about trying to get the master plan to be a controlling, persuasive document that actually has to be followed, trying to close this loophole, trying to reform the mixed-use development process. Well, what can we do? We need your help. We need your help contacting your officials, talking to them about these issues, saying that you care, saying that these changes have to be made. We would love your help if you want to be involved with We the People and the work that is going here. As Paula knows, we have a lot of work to do and not that much time to do it. And then we'd also love the support of Lansdowne Improvement. I mean, the reality is we have groups who are signing on now more and more on our website that we're able to tout, like Neighbor Space, Essex Middle River, Perry Hall. So this work is ongoing. We'd love to have your support if you are willing to share it. So let me pause there. There probably aren't questions because I've been talking at you quite a lot, but I'm very reachable too. I think, yeah. So that's my cell phone, that's my email. Ernie knows how to reach me as well. So just, let me know if you'd like to be a part of this, but we'd love to have you. That's it.